Good morning.
Good morning.
If you could state your name, please, and spell your last name.
My name is Becky Lloyd, Lloyd.
Where do you work?
I work for C&E Stonemasonry.
And how long have you worked there?
I've worked there 5 years.
What is your current role with C&E?
I am currently their estimator.
What's that mean?
It means C&E Stone, we put stone on houses, and my job is to figure out how much we need on those houses.
What was your job back with C&E when you first started with them?
I got hired originally as an admin.
And when was that?
That was in February of 21.
Did you know Eric Richins?
I did.
How long did you know him for?
I met him sometime around 2017.
Okay. And what about Kouri Richins? Do you know her?
I do.
And did you meet her around the same time?
Yeah.
In 2021, what was the nature of your relationship with Kouri Richins?
I knew her as a neighbor. I knew her as the mother to my children's friends, and I knew her as my own friend.
I want to turn your attention to December of 2021. Was there a conversation that you had with Kouri Richins in December of 2021 that stood out to you?
Yes.
What was the date of that conversation?
December 17th of 2021.
That's a specific date. Why do you remember that date?
Because I keep a journal and I have photos from that date.
What were you doing that day?
We were doing a Secret Santa gift wrap for C&E Stone. We get presents for families in the neighborhood that don't get a good Christmas, and we were wrapping them to give away.
Now, when you say we, was that, who's the we?
Me and Kouri.
Okay, just the two of you then?
Just the two of us while we were wrapping, yeah.
Was there a topic of conversation that came up related to Kouri Richins' marriage?
Yes.
How did that come up?
I had recently gotten divorced a couple months before, 3 months before, and she was asking me how that was going, and I was asking her about how her marriage was going, and her and Eric had a fight that day, so it was definitely on the top of her mind.
What did Kouri say to you?
Kouri had an opportunity to go to a work event of some sort, like a Christmas gala, something like that. And it was going to be a really good opportunity for her career. She was excited about it. At the same time, Eric had booked a sleigh ride with the family for Christmas, a good family activity, and they had a scheduling conflict, and they did not agree about what they should do for that scheduling.
All right, we need a commercial break. We'll get you back into the courtroom for more testimony in the case against Kouri Richins. Back to Utah right after this. Stay with us. We are in Utah this afternoon for the murder trial of Kouri Richins, the mom of 3 who wrote a book to help her children overcome the untimely death of their father, is now on trial for his murder. Prosecutors say that Richins killed her husband, Eric, by poisoning his drink with a lethal dose of fentanyl in order to get the insurance money. She needed it, state says, because she was so in debt with her house flipping. But the defense says that Eric had a drug problem and that he accidentally OD'd. Let's go back into the courtroom now. Richins' friend and neighbor on the stand talking about one day they were discussing divorce, I guess.
What else did Kouri say during that conversation about her marriage with Eric?
She talked about how she was feeling trapped. She was feeling like there wasn't an easy way forward out of the marriage. She felt like she was worried about her kids. She was worried that she was going to lose them and that Eric was going to take the kids from her and that his family was going to turn the community against her. And she said that in many ways it would be better if he were dead.
What was the tone of Kouri's voice during that conversation?
It was serious. She definitely had a very serious tone. We weren't really joking. It was a very honest conversation and a very heartfelt conversation. And you could tell from her body language that, she was frustrated and she was struggling with where she was at. It was a serious tone.
What was your reaction to Kouri saying it would be better if Eric were dead?
To me, it really signified just how far their marriage was off track and how serious the situation was, and I felt bad for both of them. That's a heavy conversation.
I don't have any other questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Lloyd.
Good morning.
My name's Kathy Nestor. I'm one of the attorneys representing Kouri Richins. First of all, I want to talk to you about how you got the job with C&E.
Absolutely.
Isn't it fair to say that Kouri helped you get that job because you'd just gotten a divorce and she was doing something nice for you?
I would say Kouri helped me get that job. Yes, she let me know that it was available and definitely made sure that I knew that it was an option for me.
And she was the reference for you to her husband, Eric?
I would say so, yes.
Okay. And when you were working at C&E, during the time that Eric was alive, Kouri was actually on the payroll, right? She got like a paycheck every couple weeks.
That's true.
Right. And isn't it also true that right after Eric died, she called and said, "Don't send me anymore"?
I believe so, but I am a little fuzzy on that memory.
Okay. But at some point, she came off the payroll.
Correct.
Really quick after Eric died.
I would say so.
All right. I want to talk to you about the conversation on December 17th. And this was, as I understand you, Kouri and Eric every year did a Secret Santa project where they gave less privileged people anonymous Christmas gifts, right?
Absolutely.
And so you were there wrapping those gifts?
Yes.
And you were having girl talk?
Yes.
And you're somebody that she trusted
Yeah, I hope.
because you had confided in her about your marriage
Correct.
and the fact your husband had been unfaithful,
Correct.
and she felt safe and talking to you about similar things like that?
Yes.
Okay. And when you were at this meeting, about, let me look at the date, just 1 minute. A couple of weeks after Eric died, you gave an interview about this conversation you and Kouri had.
Yes.
And you gave it to a private investigator that worked for the family of Eric Richins, right?
I actually don't remember if it was at that time, but I do remember in a meeting with him, yes.
April 6th of 2022 at your house. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
All right. And this gentleman, who was not law enforcement, he's a private investigator, right?
Yes.
And he came to your house and you told him about this day that you spent with Kouri, didn't you?
I don't remember, but I assume so.
All right. And isn't it fair that in that first interview, you never mentioned anything about saying it would be better off if Eric was dead, did you?
I don't recall.
You don't recall?
I don't recall.
Okay. And then you had a second interview almost 2 years later in March of 2024 with the same investigator. Is that right?
Sounds right.
And then the investigator said, wait, I understand you've talked to Katie and there was something you forgot to tell me the first time we met about a statement Kouri made.
That's true.
And what you forgot to tell him was this part about it, he'd be better off dead, right?
Yes.
Okay. And isn't it fair that in this second interview in 2024, almost 2 years after, you even in that interview told him that you couldn't get on the stand for sure and say that she said that, didn't you?
I do not recall that.
Okay, Katie, can you please play the clip BL1? If we could cue that up and play it for her to hear.
Cue it up. And let's make sure we're all talking about the same thing. My apologies. Do we have a foundation issue here, Ms. Sherman?
Yes, I don't know what they're referring to, and if they're seeking to refresh her, then I believe that should be handled slightly differently.
Yeah.
No, I believe she said she didn't say it, so I don't think I need to refresh her. I think I can impeach her at this point.
If you would just approach for a second.
Oh, getting good. Some drama in the courtroom there. Did you see Kouri daggering her old buddy, who is now on the stand? Let's bring in, while they're at sidebar, Matt Lopez is criminal defense attorney in Phoenix, Arizona. Matt, you got these two face-to-face here, and it was pretty clear the witness did say, no, I never said that, to the question posed. So shouldn't this recording be played as impeachment, not just a refresher.
Yeah, the defense attorney is doing a really good job at impeaching the credibility of this, the witness, being that she did have a statement that completely contradicted whatever she's saying now, in that, you know, if we've got a recorded statement, that's coming in. And so what better way of impeaching a witness if you're saying something recorded 3 years ago in this case, and then now you're saying something different on the witness stand. So really good job at doing that. And the more you can attack the credibility of the witnesses with misstatements or incorrect statements, the better the chance they have at attacking her credibility, which is exactly what they're trying to do.
Yeah, this could be done pretty quickly here if the judge allows this in. Let's go back. The sidebar's broken up.
So would you say the number one more time, Ms. Nestor?
Yes, Your Honor. We are going to be playing a clip that we have marked. We're not going to admit it. We're just going to impeach with it, but it's BL1.
Okay. And let's see, Katie, let me get you connected here.
And this part, I swear she said it, but I also feel like if you put me on the stand, I would not be confident enough to actually truly know if she said it. But I swear she said, in many ways, it would be better if he just died.
Is that your
Because, and I remember thinking, the reason I think.
That's it. Is that your voice?
That is my voice.
All right. And you did say that you wouldn't be able to swear to it on the stand, didn't you?
I wouldn't be confident in that, yes.
Okay. And then if we could play the second clip.
Yeah, well, like I said, that's the conversation we had, and I for sure know she said the trap sucked, and I am 90% sure she said the comment about it being better dead.
Okay, so again, that is the second interview that you had with the investigator. And again, you're saying you can't say for certain that she made that statement, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You also never told that statement to the police when you were interviewed by the police, did you? Until later, much later, like 2024.
I don't know if I got interviewed by the police in 2024.
Okay. All right. While you were employed at C&E, which you've testified to, after Eric died, were you instructed to go to the house and pick up some of his private items?
Yes.
And who asked you to go pick up his things?
Yeah, Your Honor. Scope.
Help me understand. If you would approach Ms. Herbeck.
Oh, Becky Lloyd's probably regretting coming forward now, given that impeachment in front of everybody. Let's get a break. When we come back, we'll head back to Utah and pick up the testimony after the sidebar concludes. Stay with us.
Weeknights on Court TV.
I'm Vinny Politan. Welcome to Closing Arguments. We have a big hour ahead here.
Your deplorable actions are unforgivable.
The community still doesn't know how this Boston police officer died.
He can't prove one element of his case.
It was a dramatic day, a dramatic moment inside the courtroom.
What's happening here?
It's unreal. Let me show you exactly what happened.
Closing Arguments with Vinny Politan. Weeknights at 8, 7 Central. Only on Court TV.
Let's head back to Utah now. Testimony continues day 9 of the Kouri Richins case. She's accused of lacing her husband's drink with fentanyl back in 2022. Following Eric's death, she wrote a book. That book there is a children's book to help her 3 kids grieve the death of their father. Let's go back into the court now. Her old friend is on the stand saying that before Eric's death, she was with Kouri, and she said that it would be better off if Eric were dead. That's what she's claiming. She was just played a recording where she said, well, I don't know if for sure. Let's see how this plays out.
And we are going to ask you some more questions in our case. So I will see you again, and that's all I have for you right now.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Shervanek, anything further today?
Yeah, sure. Ms. Lloyd, we listened to part of your conversation during one of your previous interviews, and do you recall during the rest of that conversation explaining why you remembered Kouri making that statement?
I do.
What's that explanation for why you remembered that specific statement from Ms. Richins?
Well, as someone who's gone through divorce myself or marital troubles, I know that it is probably somewhat common to have thoughts that aren't necessarily the nicest about your spouse and to have really strong feelings that way. But I was struck because she said it out loud. And some of those thoughts are what you'd call an inside thought sometimes. And it was memorable for me enough that after I met with the private detective, I went and talked to my friends. And without prompting, I said, hey, remember that conversation I told you about? What did I tell you about it? And they were able to confirm exactly what I said in my statement here, because it is a very big deal, and I respect the justice system very much, that I am never going to get on this stand and say something that I don't know as truth.
Are you confident in your testimony today?
I am.
Those are all my questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So now it's your testimony that you were told about this statement by someone else?
No. My testimony is, it is very difficult to say such a thing when someone that you care deeply about has been leveled with such charges. It is very difficult, so that is why it didn't come up in the first interview. It is a very difficult position to be here on the stand saying things like this. I don't want to be here. No one has supplied my testimony to me. No one has made me say anything about that. No one has supplied words to me. I know that that happened, and it is unfortunate that it happened because I don't want to be here saying it, but I know that that is what was said.
And in fact, the friend you're talking about is Kouri Richins, right?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Didn't you discuss this statement with Kouri Richins, and Katie's the one who sent you to the private investigator?
Katie is the one that made the private investigator aware of it, but that is not who I had the conversation with about it as far as the truth of the statement.
But you did have a conversation with Katie about it.
I did.
Okay. And then you also had a conversation with some other friends who helped refresh your memory about what you might have said?
They confirmed what I said. They did not supply a sentence to me. They did not do anything like that. They just helped me do a hard thing.
Okay. And who did you tell about this statement prior to reporting it, besides your friends and Katie and the private investigator?
What do you mean?
Did you tell anybody else?
I told my friends. I told my partner. I told the investigator, Katie. I don't recall who else.
Okay. And this was all in 2024 when you brought it up to the investigator?
My friend conversation would have been in 2021, right about the exact same, probably within a couple days of that conversation initially with Kouri.
And you would agree that if Kouri was planning to kill her husband 60 days later, it probably wouldn't be a really smart thing for her to say to you, hey, it'd be better off if he were dead, would it?
Now make your objection that the question is complete, Ms. Shervin.
It doesn't matter now.
Okay.
Go ahead, you can answer.
Say it again, please. I'm so sorry.
If Kouri Richins was planning to kill her husband in about 70 days after she made that statement to you, it wouldn't be a really smart thing to tell someone like you, hey, it'd be better off if he were dead, would it?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Do you have an opinion about that?
Same objection.
Sustained.
Doesn't call for speculate.
It's sustained.
Okay. Did you ever ask Kouri directly, what did you mean when you said that to me on December 17th?
No.
You never gave her the opportunity to explain whether she was just venting, whether she was joking, whether she was serious?
Unfortunately, no.
Right. And you had a long time to do that before you reported it to this investigator, didn't you? As a friend.
I suppose so.
Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Lloyd, when Kouri Richins told you it would be better if Eric was dead, was she joking?
No.
What was her
speculation, Your Honor?
What was her tone?
Object to speculation.
Hold
Your
on,
Honor.
let's
Move to
pause. Yeah, the question regarding what she was thinking, or was she joking, pardon me, is sustained. Can't consider the answer no, because this witness can't know what's in another person's head. You can ask her about her demeanor.
Sure. What was her tone of voice?
Serious.
Was she laughing?
No.
Was she smiling?
No.
Did you have any reason to believe that she was joking?
No.
One last question.
Were y'all drinking?
We had had one beverage. I had had one beverage.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay. May we allow this witness to step down?
Yes.
All right.
Chief, please advise.
I got it. Thank you. If you're called back, you'll get notice.
Okay, thank you.
In the meantime, please don't talk to anybody about your testimony. Please don't watch any coverage, read any coverage, listen to any coverage about the case.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
Please travel safe.
Thank you so much.
Kouri, we haven't seen. Oh, look, there's another shake of the head. This one really rattled her. I haven't seen a ton of reaction from her with any of the witnesses, but boy, that was different. Matt Lopez watching along with us. Overall, what's your take on the friend's testimony? Did it move the ball?
Yeah, what sort of piqued my interest about it is to allege that one of your friends several years ago said, yes, Eric would be better off dead, or say Eric would be better off dead. I mean, that's a serious allegation. And when the defense attorney said, the prosecutor said, was she joking? And she said, no. My thought would immediately be, if you're friends, how come you're not having any follow-up questions? What did you mean by that? Why are you saying that? And for her to say, yeah, in an interview, I'm 90% sure, or she could have said it, or I'm sure, I think she may have said it, and now she's saying she definitively said it. My question is, if your friend is confiding in you and they're having marital issues, and she says in a serious tone, I wish Eric was better off dead, my follow-up question is, why do you say that? What do you mean by that? And she doesn't ask any of these questions. So, I think what happened, and she's on the stand and she's saying, look, I respect the criminal justice system and I would never lie on the stand. Well, nobody wants to be accused of a liar. So she may have very well said this to the investigators, but now she doesn't want to look like she's a liar. So she's committing to that statement and saying, yeah, I did in fact say that. I 100% said that, and because that's what she said. But, I think that there was probably more context to the story. And if I'm a juror, I think there's some doubt as to her credibility and whether or not that statement was true, in fact.
Yeah, if I'm a juror, I'm just taking this with a massive grain of salt because of all of the issues with the private investigator. Even the last little thing, were you guys drinking? Yeah. All right. Well, it's just the whole thing. It seems like I don't even know if I want that. Could the prosecution? It doesn't help their case, and it could make a juror or two tilt their head and say, "Why are you putting this woman on?" It was a bit risky, wasn't it, putting her on, in terms of what you're getting from her?
I think it was risky, especially if they're saying they're out at happy hour and they're drinking. And a really good line of question from the defense attorney, or the prosecutor, I think they said, well, why would they, don't you think that was odd that they said that? I think it was the defense attorney, actually. It wasn't that odd that she would have said that. Why would she have said that if she was going to kill her husband, within 70 days? Well, I think that's a fair question. Maybe she said it under her joking, maybe she said it under her breath. I don't know. But yeah, for somebody to say, I wish my husband was dead, and 70 days later he's dead. And there's no follow-up questions. There's no, what do you mean by that? And she's talking to a circle of friends. I think there's a little bit of peer pressure involved right now that, yes, I said that one point in time. Now I have to stick to my story because I'm sworn under oath in front of not only the jury, but also national television. So I've got to go with that. And for her to recant that, I think it's going to be difficult for her to do on a personal level. So as the jury, I'm thinking, I just don't know if that's true or not. But as a prosecutor, a lot of the times, just like defense attorney, you're throwing a lot of evidence against the wall because you do have the burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt. So what if the jury doesn't necessarily believe what she's saying, or so what if they think there's more to the story? If this is just one small piece of the puzzle, maybe the jury could hang their hat on to believe that there is reasonable doubt to convict, then I think a prosecutor is doing that.
Okay, makes sense, yeah. It feels like it started at a wine club in Park City, and someone said, oh, you have to tell this. You go, and it turns in now she's on the stand and regretting it.